and welcome to Coffee with Phil, where our goal is to help you live a life of purpose on purpose. We believe that we each become wiser through the people we meet and the stories we hear. So today, we want to connect you with someone new. To help you find the wisdom in today's story, here's your podcast host, Phil Strong.
Well, g'day and welcome to Coffee with Phil. It's great to have you with me today. I'm enjoying my coffee. I hope you're enjoying yours. And wherever you are in the world listening, thanks for joining me. Today's interview has taken me a little more effort than I would normally hope to have to get to you. I have had technology crisis. I have had internet crisis. I have had, when you do a whole lot of work and it doesn't get saved, I've had that kind of crisis. So I'm struggling. But I really wanted to persevere to get this interview out to you, because what my guest today is going to share with you is really, really encouraging. And I hope that whether you're someone who's struggling through a season in life, or whether you're someone who helps others as they struggle, or whether you're just looking for some encouragement, that today you find the gold in this interview. Mary Wanhill and I are chatting about her life, how she started out lost, she became Scary Mary, and then she transitioned out of that, and the pressures that she faced helped her to grow stronger in order to succeed in the next season of life. And I really hope you hear that. You'll hear why I call her Scary Mary, as did many others. You'll hear about her personal challenges, and you'll hear testimonies of others who have journeyed. And ultimately, I guess, my biggest takeaway from this, and I hope you hear it because I'm repeating it several times in the interview, the biggest takeaway that I heard from Mary was she said, look, we don't force someone into being who we think they should be. We just journey with them to help uncover and discover the gold that is already in them. And she said, when people know you're looking for the gold in their life, they don't mind if you remove the dirt. I love that. That's so good when she said that. And so, look, I've had the privilege of listening to this interview several times because I've had to edit it several times. It's my crisis, not yours. But the gift to you is Mary and her stories and her life, living life wide open. Enjoy this interview with Mary Wanhill. So I'm really excited to have Mary with me today. Mary is someone that's got a really interesting story, and I'm just super excited for you guys to get into it. So I'm going to just say, g'day, Mary. Welcome to the call.
How you doing?
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have you online. You listeners won't know this, but we're doing a video call today. So Mary and I get to hang out. And man, it's been ages since I saw you guys last. But I think maybe we met 2011. Somewhere.
Yeah, quite a way back. Yeah.
Yeah, we met in an office in Hamilton and drank too much coffee and
you drew on a napkin, and I'm still pretty sure I have that napkin. And I've used it since.
Oh my goodness. So we met, we were doing some planning, we came up with some ideas. We were on a napkin at one stage, like for your ministry, your youth group that you run, and now it's expanded. So I want to go on that journey today. But Mary, you're married to Joel?
Yes.
Yeah. How long have you guys been married now?
Over 10 years now. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. And you're living currently in the Bay of Plenty?
Yes, out at a place called Pongakawa. Yeah.
Pongakawa. Excellent.
Yeah.
What a wonderful little place. No one will know where that is, but they can Google it. It should be on Google Maps. So Mary, you and I chatted. I've got a couple of questions prepared because you've got a really interesting bunch of stories. But I thought to start with, when I first discovered who you were, before you knew me, I knew you. You were flying around in the air, doing a whole bunch of crazy things. That was you must feel like that was a lifetime ago. But when I first encountered Mary, you were called Scary Mary. And I want you to tell us why you were called Scary Mary.
So I'm not like a scary person. If you see me, you wouldn't be scared of me.
No.
I'm quite a nice person.
Yeah.
No, so it kind of, I guess it come about from what I would do on my dirt bikes. So it was a little bit scary, the stuff I'd done riding my dirt bike. And yeah, so that's how that name come about.
So put it into context. You're a young female. I don't know how old you were when you started doing those tricks. Maybe.
I can't even remember myself. I was in my early 20s when I started motocross racing, and in my early 20s.
Yeah, so you're a young female, but you're motocross racing, and on top of that, you're doing stunt jumps and tricks. What, 20 meters in the air, 10 meters in the air, something stupid?
Yeah. So, it kind of, I guess, and to kind of backtrack it to how I got to doing that was definitely around as a young person, as a teenager, I shifted multiple times. Our family shifted multiple times. We're brought up on a farm, so in the outdoors, and I had two older brothers, and they were like, "You're such a girl. Don't be such a girl. Harden up." And so one day I was 14 years old, so I wasn't too young. I thought, I'll give these bikes a go because they had dirt bikes, and so I jumped on the dirt bikes and just kind of really took to it. And I think from that moving around, it was always really hard to find a sense of belonging, in school and in that environment. And as a teenager, that's just such a core thing to you to find that space, that place. And so for me, I really found that in dirt bikes. It gave me confidence. I took to it quite well. Also, a group that I was hanging out with at the church, it was a church youth group, and there was a bunch of them that went to dirt bikes. And so that really propelled me into it as well. And that place of just being a part of a group of people. So that actually, it wasn't like I set out to be the craziest rider or anything. It was actually the people that drew me into it.
That's awesome. So you find out that you can give it a go. You turn out to be good at it, and then I suppose as your confidence grew, you just started doing what the others were doing. And if they're doing jumps, you're doing jumps.
I always compared myself with the guys. Like I never I don't see this thing. I don't say we're equal. We're very different, and I have no issues with our differences. But for some reason, I just, having two older brothers, I was just always trying to keep up with them, and I think it created it started a really competitiveness in me, and I am actually really competitive, but very competitive always with the guys because that's a higher benchmark to aim for, right?
Yeah, sure.
But especially within this sport, so.
So did you travel like overseas when you ended up racing?
So yeah, I did. I did a lot of seasons in Australia, and racing. And I missed out on the Australian Championship by 1 point. That was a bummer. Oh. It got multiple New Zealand championships with the motocross racing, but I actually, it's nearly like I needed a new challenge. So I took to the freestyle motocross, which is the stunt riding and the big jumps, and got the female world record for the biggest jump, and still hold that. And that did take me to America. And later on, I did travel the world a bit more, judging the Rebel X Fighters. So that's the top, the guys series, the World Series of Freestyle Motocross. So
you went from racing bikes around tracks, you were looking for a new challenge. So you're like, well, let's just get into supercross tricks, big ramps. And then you end up holding the world record for the biggest jump for a female, and you still hold that record today.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and I was the first female to kind of, I guess, pave the way in the sport. As a first female to actually do the sport, it was looked at that girls couldn't do it, and I liked proving that mindset wrong.
Yeah,
That's
there's
good.
something about you, Mary. I think we'll hear it with the other stories. Is you definitely like you've got that edge about you. You're competitive. I can see that, but you apply that to not just to be a winning, but to succeed at what you feel the challenges that's in front of you.
Definitely.
And I
Yeah.
suspect you're one of those ones that you're hardest on yourself
Yeah.
because like you really want to push to achieve something for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And you're always trying to beat yourself. You like I use, I guess, comparison, I think in a positive way, as in seeing what is possible, but definitely it's about me and what I'm doing and not comparing, with others in that kind of way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really cool because, as I said to you before we started the call, what I love doing is finding out these stories that people have been on their journey, but what's the gold that others can get? And so I like reflecting. I just hear you say, you were successful at racing, but you use that as a platform, almost like a step up to the next
Definitely.
challenge.
Yeah.
Your next level was, bigger ramp, bigger jump,
Bigger bike.
bigger bike. I think I saw you post a photo on Facebook in the last month where it was almost like, this was the first time I hit this big ramp. And, the camera angle helped, but man, you look like you were in the clouds.
Yeah, it was. Because I found that photo, I was like, whoa, oh man, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. Maybe that's why they called you Scary Mary, because everyone else on the ground was scared about what you were doing.
Yeah, the outcome, yeah.
Yeah, outcome. And you've probably had a few things go not so well for you with landings or tricks.
Definitely, yeah. It's all in the takeoff to whether or not that landing comes true.
That's a really good life principle, to be honest. We could dive deep on that because the takeoff determines the journey and the landing. That's really good. So that's a bit of gold for someone to tuck away from Mary. So that's awesome. Are you the sort of person that collects X-rays and counts numbers of screws and joints and stuff like that?
No, not really. I don't get too worried about it. I have a stack of metal, in a pile of screws and whatnot. And there's definitely a fair bit in my ankle, one of my legs and ankle still. But I don't know. I've lost count of the bones that are broken. And I don't want to put people off. I am though. Like I learn by doing. So I'm not someone that figures it out before I do it. I throw myself into these situations and then figure it out.
Yeah.
So, but that got the better of me on a dirt bike quite often.
Yeah, well, obviously it's a little more risky than, taking risks with jigsaw puzzles.
And we didn't actually have foam pits when I was doing it back then either. So now they've got a lot more safety foam pits, airbags. We actually had none of that. It was just trial and error. But I think one of my strong points is that resilience to bounce back and to not be defeated. Although some would say it's a weakness, but at the same time, but definitely it took me to where I went.
Yeah. Well, like we said, you're competitive against your challenge that you've set yourself.
Definitely.
And that brings with it resilience. Just so much gold in that. Thanks, Mary. Like just what's the biggest thing you think you've learned personally from that season of life? With the racing, you then did the tricks, then you went and became a judge, in the US. What do you reckon you took away from that?
I think my biggest learning was actually you can try, you can do all these things, you can gain all these things, success, money, fame, whatever it is. And when you get there, you're still there. Like you as a person, you're still there and you've still got you. And I think though often people strive for this, thinking that it'll change when they get there. The external stuff changes, but the internal stuff, it doesn't so much. Like you're still there. And that my biggest takeaway is actually learning to belong to me and not what others, not relying on what others think of me to be okay with me. Because there was that sense of, in my early years of being a teenager, and that rejection, and because that's something that's actually really important to me is connection and belonging. And so, but yeah, knowing that, you know, even when you got fame or people, you know, and success, it doesn't actually change that sense of your own sense of belonging to you. Yeah. And that is, yeah, so that was a biggie to take away. And it nearly makes it harder when people see you as someone, like they see me as Scary Mary, whereas, and they had a picture, they formed this picture and they nearly put you in a box. And it's like, you've got to really, was like, and sometimes that can, then you try to live up to that, or you try to be that when it's not actually you. And that is quite a lot of identity kind of crisis within it, to be honest, that kind of journey. But definitely the takeaway is just becoming more and more okay with me and not what others think of me. But yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always say to people, you know, success doesn't make you, it reveals you.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're bringing yourself to the platform, in your case, the podium, and you better like who you are before you get there.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be you that turns up.
Exactly.
And I love your encouragement, and I guess you spend a lot of time encouraging young people in that area. We'll talk about that soon. But we can't get our identity from the medals or the podium. We've got to really learn to love ourselves and be a better me, regardless of where I end up in my journey.
Definitely.
Yeah, man, that's cool. So you say you've got some resilience. You've learned to understand who you are, and then so I think when I met you, you first came and you spoke. We got you to speak at a conference. You and Joel turned up to put some dirt bikes up on stands, and that's when I just realised you're just such a cool. You know, you and Joel, man, you're just so naturally relaxed. You're people focused. But your integrity and your authenticity is you just bring who you are. And
that's our motto: live life wide open. It's bring who you are, just be you.
Yeah, man, that's so cool. Obviously, the reference to keeping your throttle wide open as well.
Yeah,
but being real and being true to who you are. You've had a few challenges along the way to where you are today. I don't know how much you want to speak about that, but your resilience that you learned in one season has ended up being what helps you in another season. Do you want to talk a bit about that? We emailed about it.
Yeah. So I was 32. I think I was 32 years old. I can't remember what year, but it was about 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I was. I was feeling pretty crappy for quite some time, and doctors couldn't figure out, and they just kind of like, oh, you might be depressed, you might be, you know, this or that, or anyway, it turns out that I had cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. I had a tumor the size of a football in under my chest that was actually suffocating me to death.
Wow.
And yeah, it was. My oncologist doctor told me afterwards how serious it actually was when first met me, when they first diagnosed it. So that was, definitely, it was a life-changing journey that was actually pretty, it sounds like it was pretty incredible. Pretty incredible time. But also at the time as I got diagnosed, my mum was actually fighting secondary breast cancer, and then a week after my first treatment she passed away from it. So it was like, wow,
that's a tough season, man.
And then just to add to it, early last year my husband got diagnosed with cancer, and at a similar age, in his early 30s. So
whoa.
So now we've had a good dose of it. But hey, we've conquered, we've won, we've come out the other side. And yeah, just know that, yeah, there's, like, I guess it's brought so much more appreciation to life, for sure. I think, though, but not that I'm the greatest at it, I think, like, a big learning and something that, like, I feel like, and I know Joel did as well, went through similar, a freedom. We actually gained a freedom from that season, the learnings in it.
So that's a really incredible thought.
Yeah, so it's, and I think it's especially as a Christian, faith-based, there's a sense of, and I think in our upbringing we're often taught, like, religion says perform, there's a lot of performance within it. Do the right thing, be the right. And I'd spent for about 4 or 5 years up till then, like, building a ministry, Youth Encounter, but that same kind of sense for being good enough and part of that belonging was just such a big part of it that definitely drove me to work too hard, overperform, I guess, in a sense. And God just really took me on just such a journey of just being able to sit with him and just encounter his love to the next level. And I just was able to let go of so much and become so much more okay with me, because 9 months of treatment, and you just sit, you just spend days just sitting, just chilling, and it was pretty cool. And no expectations, of course, you're just fighting for survival, so expectations go, and it's actually quite gold.
So when you say you and Joel both experienced freedom, what you're really saying is you're having to face this challenge of cancer has actually shifted expectations away, which provides you a lot more freedom with how you view life and yourself.
But it's a continual battle still. And it's good to be reminded and talk about it. Like, I do love talking about it because it reminds me of that, because it is, I think, so to do things, because you start to operate not out of that place of, like, I'm doing that because that's my identity to prove myself, but it's more because of who I am, I can now do all this stuff.
Right.
And, live life, and live life wide open, live this free and abundant life and do great things. But then, of course, when the hurdles come or failure, mistakes, it doesn't compound on you so much because it's not who you are. You're just on this journey of living and exploring. And so definitely took that kind of performance mentality. Like, we go for excellence, not perfection. Like, we want to still do excellence in whatever we do, but doesn't have to be perfect. No, it was
it's amazing, and I think if we get to speaking to those people that are listening that, maybe have got challenges in their life right now, or they've got family that are going through challenges, like when you watched a loved one go through something, all of a sudden your hopes or your expectations might be shifted. But I think often we look at it with such a limited paradigm, we don't find, like, the upside, which is what I'm hearing you say. And of course now it's hindsight, you see you knocked it over, you've come out. But I want people to really understand from what you're sharing is that if we look at our challenges with what can I learn, how can I grow, or what's the gold inside the rainbow, the rainbow inside the storm, then they can really overcome.
I think I believe that we need resistance to move forward. Like it can either stop us and take us back, of course, but I do believe that resistance, like say in a sport and in my sport, if I was just like, if I had the mentality, oh yeah, I'm the first girl doing this, and I did, just a little bit, and then I'd just be like, oh, I've become, I guess, satisfied in a sense. Like I wouldn't push any further. I'll be like, oh, I've succeeded, but it doesn't, because I do believe our potential is limitless. It's only the limitations that we put on it.
Yeah.
That puts limits on it. So, but yeah, so that resistance, we can either be squashed down by it and give up and become a victim to it, or I believe it can propel us into our potential, into our destiny, into our future in such an incredible way. Yeah, that's kind of what I've learned and what I've seen on it and what has happened.
That's brilliant. And I just really hope that's super encouraging for people listening, that when they're coming up against obstacles, tests, or challenges, that they think of it, in your words, as resistance that makes us stronger, and propels us forward.
Yeah.
And so whoever's out there listening, whatever challenges they're facing, be encouraged. It'll make you stronger, and it's making you stronger for a reason, because it's now able to propel you into something that you've been prepared for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Take you to a new level of blessing and favor. Because favor is hard to carry, hard to handle. So we need that strength.
Well, now you're opening up some more wisdom. So don't you lose that. So resistance is, or opposition is helping to build resistance, which makes us stronger. It propels us into the next season, which you're calling favor. But now you're telling me, when you do have success or favor, it's not easy to carry. Is that what you're saying?
No, and it can break you. It can easily break you.
Okay, so again, let's not make the podium all about our identity, but who we are in that journey. Okay, from your experience, because you've been a successful athlete, you're succeeding in life, I love what you guys achieve, but what are the risks of success that you would call out for people, that you would say, okay, young person, you're really awesome at that, but watch out, there's a risk? What are those risks of success or favor?
Well, I think big risk is that you become reliant on yourself. And when you become just reliant on yourself, you can only go so far.
Wow.
You need to, gather people around you, and that to move forward and to go to the next level, it takes more than just yourself, and we're not meant to do it alone. So I think, that can be when we claim that success for just us. That can definitely be a huge risk.
Yeah,
Limits
right.
us.
Okay, so one of the risks is self-dependence. What would be another risk that you could think of?
Like definitely burnout, health.
Yeah.
Which is a huge one that is today, and mental health can, what we think we want can often, be the totally thing that will harm us.
Yeah.
So,
right.
but definitely that health is a biggie.
Because you talked before about, when you weren't well, I think you said crappy. One of the risks was that you could have been depressed or burned out because you were just working so hard, because that dependence on self, that self-sustaining, and then ultimately, I guess, through your challenges, you've found freedom from that. You've found new strength from the resistance and opposition you faced, but you've come out the other side, and now you're saying it's not about just me; it's about those that are with me, and how we do this together in community.
Definitely,
right.
Yeah.
Well, now let's talk about Youth Encounter, because I know it's just such a huge passion for you and Joel. Can you just quickly, for the listeners, just say, what is Youth Encounter? What is it? How does it work? And then we'll jump into some questions.
Cool. So Youth Encounter, Youth Encounter Ministries Trust, we're a charitable organisation, and we exist to create a community, a place for young people and older people, but primarily young people, to come into and just feel a sense of belonging in themselves, a sense of value of who they are. And because when you feel that sense of belonging and okay with you, then you can start encountering your potential. So we just want to pull them into that space to then just really empower them in their journey to live that incredible life that we believe we've been created for, and our God-given potential. So the way we do that is through extreme sporting activities.
Awesome.
So dirt bike riding, of course, which is a big part of my life, but also a big part of Joel and my life is, mainly Joel's a surfer, so, and I've taken that up now, and so surfing, wakeboarding, mountain biking, so just getting active, but in, I guess, a more risk-taking activities. We have a lot of safety around it, of course, and systems in place, and we're audited on all of that. But we can see the power in that, wanting to explore and push the boundaries, and then channeling that strength or that people have to propel them forward. And there's definitely can be some challenges in it, especially when you have an injury. But my mum always said broken bones build character.
Well, you've proven that in your life, I'm sure.
But first and foremost, it's just this real strong community. Our faith is an important component of it, and our activities that we use, and through experiential learning therapy. So I've built, created. I think it's potentially, as far as I know, I haven't, from my research, found anyone else in the world that does this, but dirt bike therapy, which is a strong cognitive behavioural therapy, working with quite high at-risk youth, bringing them through that, into mentoring, into camps, into our community gatherings, leadership, volunteering back in to the organisation, mahi, and integrating them into the workplace.
Yeah, so you're basically creating an environment where young people can be outside their comfort zone, or they could be put into an extreme environment, be it dirt bikes, mountain bikes, surfing, wakeboarding, or something else. But I'm hearing you saying that you're creating opportunities for them to experience resistance, which helps them to become stronger, but also to discover who they are.
Definitely. And it is, first and foremost, is that belonging, that pulling them in, connecting without any agenda to change them. I think that's one of our most powerful things, is we're not coming at them with, you need to be different. And I mean, like, we're talking and working with youth that are just coming through youth justice, that are coming out of lockup, being in jail. But we work with a wide range. So we've got from that end of the spectrum through to our youth, that are really on track and doing really well in life, and then merging them together with the right ratios to as well impact each other. But just in that, like you said, that environment. So first, to get an environment, you've got to create an atmosphere. So it's that atmosphere of just real acceptance. It's huge.
I just like, I'm reflecting, like, I don't know if you've reflected on your story, because as I'm hearing it, Mary, I'm hearing you basically creating positive opportunity for those, but it was based on what you experienced as a teenager. Because you said
Definitely.
right at the beginning, I hope the listeners catch this, you struggled as a young teenager with a feeling of belonging and acceptance because of just the way your family moved around. And now, here we are 20 plus years later, you're doing something really positive for that experience. You're creating an atmosphere of acceptance for people, at-risk people, to come into so that they can build that self-acceptance that's necessary for life.
Definitely. And, you know, I was I graduated school quite early. I dropped out. I was a school dropout. And, yeah, it wasn't my strong point, my education. And, like, I remember hearing, I might not have been told the exact words, but I remember hearing, you'll amount to nothing. Because I didn't fit that education system either, that school system, more practical in nature, brought up on the farm, and just wanted to adventure and explore. And I find that in that space of being active is actually where I have my best reflection. It's where I find myself the most. So, and I really believe that our education system, I think they work on it, and they try do other things. So I'm not totally negative, but it's definitely a mold to fit. And when you don't fit it, that rejection. So
yeah.
And then you want to take risky behaviors because you're trying to find yourself, improve yourself. And I'm glad I didn't find drugs and, kind of go down that track so much. But I found these sports, I found this space to test the boundaries and to push myself and find myself in that.
But yeah, exactly. That's your phrase. You found yourself. So you actually got to discover who you are.
Hugely.
And I just love it, Mira. I just want to keep repeating this so that the listeners get it. That the importance of feeling like you belong.
Huge.
And that you said at the beginning, that's what was important to you. Now you're creating a safe place where kids can come out of lockup, or they can come out of perhaps a run-in with the law, that they can feel like they belong. And once they feel like they belong, without you needing to change them, they can discover what they need for themselves.
Definitely. And it is across the board, it's creating a space that kids from such diversity can actually come together, and they don't really, you wouldn't know the difference, because it's about the core, and it's not about changing people, it's about uncovering them, it's about discovering themselves. And so we call it unleashing and releasing that potential. And I think, because I love it, I've also been exploring that, the gold, finding the gold. When people know you're going after the gold, they don't mind you removing a bit of dirt, right? Because you've got to remove a bit of dirt to find the gold.
Stop. Say that again. When people feel like you're
looking for gold, when they know you're looking for gold in them, then they won't mind you removing some of the dirt that's covering it up.
That's a word right there. That is so cool. Awesome. Correct. So you've got these people, you're looking for the gold in them. They don't mind you clearing away the dirt. Oh my goodness. So what? Give me an example, without using names, something that happened recently that just immediately comes to mind for you.
So, one of our young guys, 2 years ago, he engaged in our therapy program through the alternative education. He drugs, alcohol. He's 13 years old, and so just skipping, wagging school, not being there. Pretty rough home environment, and was just going down that track, high at school. And
Oh, hey, well, don't you love technology? So what happened when I was talking with Mary is the internet at her end just completely died. And it took me a while to get back with her to connect for the interview. And we were telling a story just now, but she shifted, and I was recording, and I didn't want to lose what she was sharing. So we're going to pick it up shortly, and you'll hear Mary talking about how she just loves working with people, and then I promise you, she transitions back into the story that she started to tell us. So let's get back into the interview with Mary Wanhill.
Like you see that, you see the potential in people, you see the gold.
Yeah.
But it is really trusting, because you've got to let God take them on the journey that they need to go on.
Fully.
And you've got to meet them at where they're at, and not try just put on, like where you're at, because it's about a story, a journey, a growth, like a learning. Yeah. So,
yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing with, especially like our at risk, say at risk, in risk off the deep end young people. It's when we come, how to put it, like, and I can lead into that impact from it. But we like, from our Christian point of view, and kind of Western culture, you can say Western culture Christianity, and how I think we've got it really mixed together, our Christian beliefs with culture, and trying to just pull some of that apart, to really meet the young people where they're at, and the person, and really taking and working with the person, no matter what nationality or where they're from.
Yeah, right.
I think that is a big challenge, and like part of Youth Encounter and our vision is to enter into that kind of space of meeting young people where they're at, that we're not putting a certain cultural norms on them, Christian behaviors, but just really heading into just captivating their hearts, and meeting and that connection, to then connect them with God and His heart for them, and really communicating that through. So
I think it's so cool. Like, I just hear, and I see this, and I'll get you to share a story in a minute, but I just see how you guys are just so fully engaged in connecting with someone because of who they are, almost like unlocking the diamond or the gold within them. But then when they recognize that, they realize there's so much more to life. There's so much more
absolutely
that would spark them into who they are. It would fulfill them in much greater ways. And all you're really doing is holding up some signs and pointing them on the journey, but being willing to walk with them.
Definitely. And a big part of it is my journey of when I snapped my legs and retired from the freestyle motocross, I went and studied the counselling at Bethlehem Tertiary Institute, and it was a real God prompt. Like, I felt like God told me to. I always thought I would go and study theology, or like to Bible college, but I ended up going down that track, and I totally can see why, because it is about unpacking, like, what are we believing about ourselves, because those incorrect, what are we believing about ourselves and believing about God, because really something happens and then we get the consequences. It's not whatever happened that is why we respond. It's what we believe about ourselves and about God and others, of why we respond the way we respond. So a big part of Youth Encounter is working in that belief system of what people are believing about themselves, and they're not seeing the gold. And as well, my own journey continually as well, having to journey that, like, what am I believing about myself and how God sees me. And when I can apply that and keep moving forward, it's incredible. It's our potential is just so
Absolutely. Hey, and like, let's segue there, because literally last time we chatted, we just totally lost internet, and either you or me, we just dropped off the world. I don't know what happened, but so this is part 2 for the listeners. Got Mary back. I'm so excited. But you started to tell a story, and so start at the beginning. Young kid comes in. I want the listeners to hear just this story because it's so powerful.
Yeah. So we had one of our a young guy that he was being kicked out of mainstream high school, and because of his behaviours, 13 years old, and hooked on drugs, sneaking out of home, dysfunctional family situation. Dad hasn't been on the scene since he was a young boy, and so he's heading out, drinking alcohol, smoking, and wagging school, and just heading off track, basically. So the alternative education, we work with a number of alternative educations, and they will give us a group of it's usually 4 to 7 young people at a time. And so this particular young man in this group coming along, and he just started to engage in it. And it was about halfway through the course, which is an 8-week therapy course based on cognitive behavioral therapy, and really just looking at what they're believing and their thoughts, the thoughts that they're thinking, to then what comes out in the behaviors. So we're 2 years now since then, and he has now come to, so we finished the course, the therapy course. Then we linked him in with our camps. So he started coming along and just really mixing him with other youth on our camps. We will put approximately 5 youth, at-risk youth, that have come through the therapy, and we provide the bikes and gear because they don't have the means for that. And then you have the other 25 or so young people on the camp that have bought their own bikes and gear. And they're 70% not from, at least 70% not faith background. So an awesome opportunity. But we bring them in together and just, so he started journeying. He come to a camp, and then we linked him in on a camp with one of our amazing mentors, and who has been mentoring him, regular catch-ups, linked him in with our local youth group. And just really seeing this young person just grow, just really grow in themselves and start to change what they thought about themselves. And the big thing when I asked them just recently of what was it that captured you in, and their answer was that they realized that we weren't judging him, we weren't putting anything on him or expecting him to be any different, just meeting him where he's at. And he just felt so safe, just safe, like he belonged. He didn't feel like he belonged at school, still struggles with that, and still just doesn't feel at school is a safe place, like a lot of our young people. But coming into our Encounter community, now he is part of, just such a strong part of the community. On the weekends, it's Encounter people of a wide variety of ages spread. It's hanging out. And last week, where I seen some pictures, they were all a bunch of Encounter young people that have met through Encounter, and they were roller skating. They were at the roller skating place.
Whoa.
But so now this young person he's 15 now, and he has been coming out and actually doing work experience with us, and on we call it our Encounter Mahi journey.
Nice.
So taking them into becoming work ready, and just doesn't totally thoroughly enjoy school. Practical, so practicalities and kind of hands-on kind of work. So yeah, just able to just keep journeying with. And this is what we with our young people is just give them that place where they feel like they fit in without changing themselves or being anyone different.
Wow.
And this young man is off, no drugs, off alcohol, not heading down that pathway, and just growing in himself. And the exciting part is growing in his understanding of who God is.
Oh, wow.
And experiencing God, and just really in this environment able to explore and keep moving forward.
Yeah, and that's such an awesome story, eh? And I think, because I remember back when we spoke last time, the first part of the call, you were saying that your journey began in a place where you really struggled to belong and you felt you didn't have connection. And often, well, what I hear from this guy, and probably a lot of the ones that you work with that are in risk, at risk situations, that they just don't feel like they belong. But I just want the listeners to grab that key thing that you've said so many times, is that we don't tell them what they're supposed to do. We don't try and change them. But what you're actually doing is trying to reveal the greatness that's within them.
Absolutely, what's already in them, eh?
That's
Definitely.
really so true. And I just wanted everyone to make sure they got that. If that's the only takeaway they get out of all your cool stories, is that the people that they meet, the ones that they maybe would be helping, don't change them, for goodness sake. Don't try and force them into a box of your expectations, but actually allow them to discover who they are, who they're created to be, and then to shine like that.
Absolutely.
That's so good, Mary. I think we've got so much for people to hear. So thanks so much for connecting with us. I'm going to make sure that I put the Youth Encounter website and Facebook on the blog post,
Awesome.
so that the listeners can grab it. They can go and see some photos. They can see the website and connect and support with if they would need to. But it's just really awesome for people to hear that there are people like you and Joel and your whole team that are just rolling up your sleeves and helping young people in our nation. And so I just want to say thanks. I think you're a huge inspiration, and I've really enjoyed catching up with you.
Well, I appreciate it, Phil. And I learn and grow even through our conversation, and every time I talk through this. It really is incredible and such a blessing and a privilege. I feel in a really privileged place to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, so good.